everyone, I'm Malia Kirby and I'm with Blue Poppy Enterprises, and normally I'd be talking to you about acupuncture or Chinese herbs, but today I'm going to talk to you about how to brew oolong tea. Oolong tea is usually pretty forgiving, and what we're going to be using today is our Imperial Secrets line of tea, the Tea Guan Yin, otherwise known as the Iron Goddess. And this is one of my favorite oolong teas out there because it's still a very floral, very green oolong tea. It's not overly roasted, it's not overly processed, and you still get that really clear, clean, classic oolong nose, which is one of my favorite things about this tea. So let's get to it. First thing you want to do when brewing oolong tea, I have a cast iron teapot that we're going to be using today. One of the first things you want to do is make sure that you heat up the teapot as well as the glass you're going to use. And I'm going to be using this white mug to kind of show you a little bit more of the color of the tea as well. This is my normal teacup that I use primarily because it has its little strainer basket in it. I'm a little bit of a Philistine when it comes to drinking tea because I'm not as concerned about the color. I'm more concerned about getting it into my mouth. Okay, so now once these cups are warm, we're going to discard the water. Normally I do this by the sink. And the main reason why you're doing this is so that everything's already going to be nice and hot, so it's not going to reduce the temperature of the water that you're brewing your tea with. So the next thing that you're going to do is add tea to your teapot. And with oolong tea, this one in particular, well, oolong teas in particular, I guess I should say, you definitely want to make sure that you rinse your tea. What that helps with is that it makes sure that the leaves are able to open up. So we're just going to cover this. That way it helps keep the heat in. And this is generally going to sit for about a minute. And that helps the leaves relax a bit. Let me show you why. Oolong tea in particular, as part of its processing, so if you look at these leaves, you can see that they're kind of crumpled up in on themselves into little balls. They're not necessarily pearls like you'll find with jasmine tea very often. This is going to be more of a traditional tadpole shape, is what they call this. And what they do to get this shape is they'll take the leaves out after harvest and they'll let them dry in the sun for a little while. And then they'll take them into a shaded area so they can cool down, and they'll take them back out into the sun. They'll put them back in the shade, back out in the sun, back into the shade. And then once they've gotten to that point, they'll take the leaves and they'll gently roll them to where they get more into this shape. And the point of that is that rolling helps redistribute the juices in the leaf, so you get a much more strong flavor in your tea. So now that we've talked about that, we're going to go ahead and take this hot water off the leaves. So now that these leaves have been rinsed, if we take them out, you can see that they've really opened up a bit. So this is going to help them brew. So now we're going to put more water onto the leaves. And I have quite a bit of leaves in the pot, so we're not going to have this brew nearly as long. If you're doing traditional oolong ceremony, you're only going to breathe 5 times and then you're going to pour tea. But since we're only brewing for 1, not as much tea in the teapot. tea brewed. You can see that we have a nice clean brew of oolong tea. Still fairly warm, and with that classic oolong scent. Cheers!